Today on BRStv, we're going to discuss the top 10 most common causes of equipment-related tank failures that can either wipe out your tank or cause serious damage to your home. At the same time, we'll cover how we can use the redundancy offered by aquarium controllers to completely avoid them or at least drastically reduce the risk of a real disaster. First one I think has to be heater failure. These little $40 pieces of equipment are a source of an incredible amount of problems. It's fairly common for them to fail in the off position, meaning they won't turn on anymore. In this case, you have a fairly long time before the tank cools down, and most of the fish and corals can actually survive a cold tank for quite a while. A more common type of failure is for a heater to get stuck in the on position, which creates a real disaster. It doesn't take long for the tank to heat up, and the result can be pretty disastrous within a matter of hours. To understand why it's more common for a heater to get stuck on, it's best to explain how they work. Many heaters use a small bimetal thermostat that use two dissimilar metals that bend at different temperatures. As the tank cools, they bend towards each other. When they touch, it makes an electrical connection that turns the heater on. As the tank heats up, the contacts bend away to sever the electrical connection and turns the heater off. Problem here is eventually the two pieces of metal can get stuck together permanently, which means the heater can't turn off. As a solution, some heaters like this one from Aquatics use relays to reduce the current running through those two contacts, which should significantly reduce this problem, but it won't eliminate it. An even better option is heaters that control the temperature electronically, like the Neotherm from Aquatics. These electronically controlled thermostats are much more reliable, and a good heater like this one should last a long time. If it does fail, it's probably more likely to fail off than on. The best solution is really to have an external controller that powers the heater, which will solve all of our problems. Most controllers are not only capable of turning the heater on and off, but also setting off an alarm letting you know the tank is out of the correct temperature range and sending you an email or text so you can do something about it quickly. The second most popular cause of tank disasters is also related to tanks overheating, but can be related to different things like a chiller failing to turn on, your home's air conditioner failing, or even really simple things like a family member turning the air conditioning off and opening the windows at night but forgetting to turn it back on in the morning. Avoiding these issues can be a two-step approach. First, you can use the controller to start turning non-essential equipment off in series. For instance, if the tank is getting hotter than your set parameters, first turn on a fan. If it continues to rise, turn off the lighting or a portion of the lighting, like halides first, then fluorescence. If it's still rising, you can turn off everything not essential to life support, like UV sterilizers, reactors, or high wattage pumps. But more importantly, the controller takes a second step of notifying you on your phone or email that there's a real problem here that needs to be solved. The third most common type of disaster is related to auto top-off failures. Auto top-offs are used to replace evaporated water in one of the most common pieces of equipment on a reef tank because it adds stability and reduces the daily tasks related to your tank. Problem with them is it's super common for them to get stuck in the on position. Most of them use some type of float switch to trigger the top-off pump. Problem with float switches is they're a moving part in saltwater that can fail because a snail crawled on it, salt creep or algae got it stuck, a cord is resting on top of them, or the two contacts fused together from a power surge or other problem. Most use two switches as a fail-safe, but the things that made one fail are the exact same things that can make the other fail, so you might be surprised how often they fail together. When they do fail, they'll often empty the entire top-off reservoir into the tank, or even worse if you have it hooked up directly to your RO system with a float valve. Now, this is not only bad for the tank, but it can also do serious damage to your home. It can ruin carpet if the tank is in the basement, but if it's on the second floor, this can damage your floors, ceiling below, as well as any furniture. If you have hardwood floors, I bet you can only imagine the expense immediately. Two ways to help avoid this issue. First is invest in a top-off system that doesn't rely on moving parts like the Elos or Tunes oscillator. These are much less likely to fail, and if they do, it's more often in the off position, which is less of an issue. Second, you can use your controller to protect your tank and home. Most controllers allow you to connect float switches to make your own auto top-off operated by the controller. There are a few nice aspects to this. One, you can put a float much higher where it's less likely to have issues as a third fail-safe. Controllers like the Apex also have leak detectors which can detect spills and turn off pumps and notify you. Lastly, advanced controllers also have the ability to monitor salinity, so it can also turn off the top-off pump if the salinity were to get too low. The number 4 most common cause of tank crashes is Kalkwasser overdosing. There are a variety of ways to overdose calc, such as issues with the reactor not settling the calc out properly, but the most common is related to using Kalkwasser in your auto top-off and it failing on. The result is the pH skyrockets, which can wipe out everything in a very short period of time. Luckily, a controller has a super simple solution for this based off an internal pH controller. Simply turn the pump off if the pH ever goes over a set threshold. This is actually one of the quickest ways to recognize a top-off failure and also one of the backup solutions. I've never seen fail anyone before. Number 5 is tank, sump, plumbing, and pump leaks. These are more likely to damage your stand and home than the tank, but slow leaks can cause many thousands in damage. Other than constantly checking for this type of thing, the only real solution is to have leak detectors like these set up to notify you when they happen. If you catch a slow leak right away, it can save you a fortune. In my opinion, if you plan on having a tank more than a couple years, this is enough reason alone to purchase a controller. Number 6 is also related to leaks. It's fairly common for reefers to use an external skimmer or connect their skimmer cup to an external container. When, not if, the skimmer decides to act up and overflow with foam one day, the container can quickly fill and spill onto the floor or stand. This can be solved with a float in the container lid to shut off the skimmer, as well as a leak detector at the base of the skimmer to shut it off as well. Number 7 is calcium reactor failures. This happens when something goes wrong with the regulator, bubble rate, or solenoid on the CO2 line, and an extremely low pH solution is quickly added to the tank. While this is a much less common occurrence than some of the other issues mentioned today, it does happen and is easily avoided by setting your controller to turn off the reactor's feed pump if the tank's pH ever gets below a safe threshold. Number 8 is two-part overdosing. Two-part is often added with a pair of dosing pumps and timers, or a dosing pump with a built-in controller. It's pretty rare for a timer or internal controller to fail, but if you plan for every potential failure, the chances of having a 10-year tank skyrockets. Too much calcium rarely results in anything devastating. However, overdosing the alkalinity portion can result in raising the pH to dangerous levels. So again, setting your controller to turn off the power to the pump if the pH rises too high is an excellent solution. Number 9 is your aquarium controller fails you. A controller is really no different than any other piece of equipment. It can fail as well. Luckily, most of today's controllers are fairly robust, so most people won't experience this type of thing. It is rare, but we should still plan for it. Most of the better controllers out there have a simple function to fill out what you want to happen if the controller ever experiences issues. So you can tell each outlet what to do. For instance, if the controller fails, I'd still want my return pump to operate, but I might want my calcium reactor and ozone to be off until I can look into the issue. The number 10 cause of equipment-related tank disasters is power outages. This might actually be a lot higher, but so far I don't think any controller has a good method of dealing with these, so I put it last. While long-term power outages that last days are a concern, they're pretty infrequent and you often have time to figure out what to do. It's the short-term 3 to 10 hour ones that are more concerning because they happen while you're sleeping or at work. The biggest issue is with lack of gas exchange. The moment the pumps turn off, the oxygen begins depleting, CO2 begins to rise, and the pH begins to drop. Depending on your bioload, this can be an issue in just a matter of hours, and once things start to die, it happens rapidly. The best solution for this is putting a couple of low wattage power heads on a battery backup so they continue to run for at least a few hours after an outage. Obviously, the bigger the backup system, the better. There are some pumps out there like the Vortex that offer a battery backup solution. If you invested in these pumps, it's almost silly to not consider the backup as well. The part that's missing from all this is the notification. To my knowledge, none of the controllers are capable of notifying you if there's a power outage, and even if they did, your modem and other equipment would also have to be on a battery backup as well. And you'd have to hope that your internet is up. Hopefully the next generation of controllers considers this issue and finds a solution, possibly something related to remote monitoring. That wraps up today's episode. This week's question of the week is, how long did you own your aquarium before you bought your first controller? Next week, we're going to release an episode on how buying an aquarium controller can actually save you money. Hard to believe, but it's true. If you'd like to be notified when it comes out, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching BRStv.